Hello and welcome back to the third hour of America's Forum here on Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Our top story this hour?
Because everybody here knows that kids who eat well and stay active tend to have better grades, they have better attendance, they have fewer disciplinary problems at school. And between today's announcement and our work to serve better food and get more activity into the school day, we're now ensuring that more and more of our kids will be staying healthy throughout the entire arc of their day.
There is First Lady Michelle Obama touting changes to her Let's Move campaign. The campaign began 4 years ago to combat childhood obesity. The First Lady was in Florida to make the announcement about getting children involved with healthy activities and out of school. The campaign appears to be working, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. While obesity rates for most Americans have not changed significantly over the past decades, they have for kids ages 2 to 5. The obesity rate dropped from 14% in 2003 and 2004 to just over 8% in 2011 to 2012. That represents a total of 43% in the drop of kids who are coming in as obese. Here to talk to us about this is the Director of Emergency Services in Riviera Beach, Florida, Dr. Scott McFarland. It's good to have you back with us, Doctor.
Hey, honored and delighted to be here.
All right, so this childhood obesity issue, it's a huge one because it can lead to long-term negative health impacts for these kids when they do grow up to be adults here. But you were saying we got to take a closer look at these numbers because they might be a little deceiving.
A little skewed. And because when you even highlighted the numbers 14% versus 8%, it's actually 13.9 versus 8.4. If you round those numbers, they both come to around 10%, if you round to the nearest 10. So it's a highly publicized, politically convenient number for Ms. Obama. And I don't want to sound negative. I'm an optimist by nature. You know, I want to see good, healthy trends. The trend is your friend. But these numbers are not that convincing because the last paragraph starts off, we have seen no significant improvement in obesity in this country.
Now, talk to us a little bit more about the negative health effects that happen when kids, very young kids in particular, are obese. What happens to them later in life?
It's so sad, you know, and we see in the emergency department all the time, and people talk about diabetes and the increased hypertension rate, you know, amongst obese kids. But obese kids turn into obese adults. You know, habits die hard. You know, the tendency to grab a chocolate, you know, or a sack of potato chips becomes a habit that you carry through life. You know, donuts are nobody's friend when it comes to your waistline. The kids who are obese have increased risks of diabetes, of hypertension. What we see a lot of times is not just that, but we see orthopedic injuries. We see bones wearing out from trying to carry around massive amounts of unnecessary weight.
So that could lead to, you know, earlier hip implants and knee implants, things of that nature.
There's also, the other thing is the psychological impact, because fat kids get abused. I mean, they get tortured by their mates in school, because they're an easy, visible target, you know, for frailty.
Now, we're talking about these numbers, and they might be a little bit skewed because maybe it plays well for the First Lady and her initiative. But we don't want to knock the Let's Move campaign because exercise is the key here, right, to keeping these kids from becoming obese. If
you burn more calories than you take in, you ain't going to get fat. You know, it's just a simple balanced equation. You eat right and you exercise, as we said here before. The simple key to good health.
Now, aside from the First Lady's national campaign, on more of a local level, do you think that more parents are getting this information here about why it's so bad for their kids to be overweight?
I hope so. I hope that the information is out there. But just like cigarette smoking, you know, it's not exactly a newsflash. Cigarette smoking may be hazardous to your health, and yet people still do it every day. It's a matter of instructing your kids in the right way, and it's atmosphere dependent. We happen to just move to Jupiter. I happen to see people out there on the beach walking every day. Older people, I mean, in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, are out there walking on the beach as healthy as can be. But in Riviera Beach, you don't see that much, you know, physical activity. So it is geographically dependent, too.
Yeah, and we should mention that he meant Jupiter, Florida, not Jupiter, the planet, that we are in South Florida. But no, that's important you mentioned that because there's a cultural impact of this as well, and that's why the First Lady was such a good spokesperson, because in these underserved areas, you do see more kids that are overweight, correct?
And then exactly, not only more overweight, but it leads to their problems in adulthood when black women are significantly more overweight than white women. And curiously, Hispanic women, 1 in 6 Hispanic women are obese, 1 in 9 black women, but only about 1 in 14 white women.
And what is the main driver for that?
Diet.
Diet.
I think just It's cultural. I mean, it's
and
more than just what you put
availability
in.
to fresh food, right? That's another issue you're seeing.
Completely. You know, in those local markets, when there's not that much healthy, you know, at the 7-Eleven, you know, or at a quick stop, where as you go to Publix, make good choices, and you learn it at an early age, and you acquire certain tastes. But too much fat, too much sugar, too much salt.
And we've also seen initiatives from schools to get things like soda out of schools as well. Do you think that's starting to make an impact? And although the numbers might not be as big as we want for the reduction of obesity in these kids, that's starting to take hold as well.
I was so excited that Michael Bloomberg put $65 million of his own money into educating the city of New York and insisting that fast food places take the trans fat out of their menu, taking the size of sodas, shrinking them. Every little bit helps, you know, but you got to set a new standard for what the right behavior is.
Yeah, so talk to us about that, because that wasn't really a popular initiative. Neither talk about the public health costs of these types of things here. I'm not defending Bloomberg, but certainly as more people are overweight and those people come from underserved areas, it's the taxpayer that usually winds up picking up the tab.
Probably so. You know, it's hard to legislate behavior. It's because nobody really likes to be told what to do.
Right.
But people need rules, and it's that lack of rules. People go on a diet, they got certain rules. They can't eat this, they can't eat that, you know. So, but people just aren't as self-legislated, you know, as you might like to think.
All right, so if I'm a grandparent or I'm a parent, and I'm sure you get this a lot, you know, from people who, you know, if you have to tell someone that their child is pre-diabetic, you know, how do you tell these kids that they can't eat that?
Just the same way I tell somebody if they're an alcoholic. I say, you know, the choices you're making, if you continue the way you're headed, you're going to have a very sad, miserable life. I don't want to be judgmental. I'm here to tell you, as your friend and your doctor, this child, you're going to have to get him out and exercising more. He's going to have more fun. He's going to be the last kid picked on the baseball team. There are going to be psychological impacts. There are going to be physical impacts on his health. So for your kid's sake, think about him the next time you go to the market.
All right, fair enough. Dr. Scott McFarland, thanks so much for your insight on this. We have more topics to talk to you about as well coming up after the break here. But what do you think about these new reports about you know, there is some concern that maybe this might be a little skewed because it's the First Lady's initiative. Do you think that might be the case here? Or do you think that there is more broader concern for kids that are overweight in society today? You can tweet us your comments. You can tweet me directly, JohnB_Newsmax, or any of us here at the program at Newsmax TV. Also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewsmaxTV, or email us, of course, connect@NewsmaxTV.com. When we come right back, how to effectively manage the challenges of a caregiver, particularly those who are dealing with loved ones who may have Alzheimer's. That right after this.